goes.
Now let his kids go. Where's daughter? Well, New York, New York.
Yes, sir.
Fresh out the can.
Damn.
Over 18 stretch.
Damn.
They gave me 7 and 5.
Max B is finally free after nearly 16 long years behind bars. 16 years of court battles, appeals, and never losing faith, and now the Wave God is officially back. But not everyone's celebrating his return. Word on the street is that Jim Jones isn't exactly thrilled about Max being home. His release has cracked open old wounds, bringing their past beef right back into the spotlight, this time with a whole new wave of trolling aimed straight at Jim. It's been less than 3 days since Max touched down, and already it feels like he's everywhere. Scroll through your feed and boom, there he is. 1 second he's in a jewelry store trying on shiny new chains, the next he's turning up at a birthday party surrounded by old friends and new faces. Then out of nowhere, he's spotted in the club, flashing that signature grin and even showing up at a Jets game like a rock star. It's like there's a camera following him 24/7, capturing every flashy move he makes.
Max B when he gets
No,
it.
Max B.
Okay.
Max.
This isn't some quiet, low-key comeback. Nah, Max is stepping back into the spotlight loud and proud. And the fans, they're eating it up. This right here is one of the most hyped homecomings hip-hop's seen in years. People have been waiting over a decade to see the wave back in motion. And now that he's here, he's not just coming home, he's coming home making noise, grabbing headlines, and reminding everyone exactly who he is. Just 1 day after getting out, Max B didn't waste a second. He dropped to one knee and proposed to his girl. That's how you make an entrance. But with all that attention, you already know drama wasn't far behind. A comeback this loud was bound to stir up some old mess. Talk of beefs, rumors of snitching, jealousy, and people choosing sides. But the biggest headline right now, that never-ending feud between Max B and Jim Jones. Jim's been trying for years to keep his name far away from anything connected to Max. He's made it clear in interview after interview he doesn't want to talk about him, doesn't want to deal with him, nothing. At one point, he even said F Max B, then later tried to dial it back, saying he could maybe forgive but would never forget. Basically, that bridge was burned to ashes. But with Max finally out, it was only a matter of time before Jim's name got dragged back into the mix. And guess who kicked the whole thing off? None other than 50 Cent. Of course, nobody was shocked. 50 and Jim have had their own issues for a minute, and when Max came home, it was the perfect storm for 50 to start clowning again. He jumped straight on Instagram, doing what he does best, stirring chaos. He posted a meme from the movie Belly, showing the character Rico eating a banana, and fans instantly knew what he was doing. The trolling had officially begun, and the internet went wild. The meme had text labeling the character as Jim Jones, straight up implying that Jimmy was snitching. And in true 50 Cent style, he added a wild caption saying something like, "Homie said Max home, it's packed in Harlem. Jimmy about to drop a dime on these dudes, LOL. Total chaos." Then he threw in a clip of Max B on FaceTime with DJ Who Kid.
People don't play with me with that conversation. Ain't nobody can tell me nothing about that. That's the first thing I say. You heard?
Okay.
That's how you feel. That end the deal for anybody. There ain't no Max talking about conversation. Period.
Classic 50 move, but it didn't stop there. Bloggers, hip-hop pages, and fans all jumped in, turning the internet into a full-blown battlefield. Now, for anyone who doesn't know, the beef between Jim Jones and Max B wasn't just some quick rap drama. It was personal, deep, and straight-up messy. Back in the mid-2000s, these two were tight like brothers. They were always together, recording tracks, hanging out in Harlem, and moving like a unit. But even before the fame and all that wave talk, Max had already lived a wild movie-style life. He'd just gotten out of prison in 2005 after doing 8 years for robbery, and when he came home, Harlem met Max Big of L. He made that name by blending 3 of the biggest legends ever: Biggie Smalls, Machiavelli, Tupac, and Jigga, Jay-Z. That's bold energy right there. When Max came home, Harlem was lit. The Diplomats, Cameron, Jules Santana, and Jim Jones had the whole city in a chokehold, dropping anthem after anthem that defined an entire era. Through Cameron, Max met Jim, and from that first link-up, the chemistry was instant. Jim was so impressed, he signed Max to his Bird Gang label and teamed him up with the Harlem legend himself, producer Dame Grease.
Feeling good.
Feeling good,
I know
feeling
what it
good.
is. I'm grateful.
Okay.
I'm thankful.
Love that, love
God is
that.
good.
From there, everything moved fast, real fast. In 2006, Max dropped his first mixtape, $1 Million Baby, and the streets couldn't get enough. His smooth hooks, wild confidence, and that signature wave sound had the whole city talking. Harlem hadn't seen a rise like that in years, and Max B was quickly becoming the talk of every block. Max B's raspy, melodic flow and that unshakable wave energy made him sound like nobody else out there. His offbeat swagger, his unique tone, everything about him screamed one of one. At the same time, Bird Gang had another rising star in the mix, Stack Bundles. With both Max and Stack in his corner, Jim Jones was sitting on a gold mine. These two were supposed to be the future of Harlem, the next big wave to carry the city. Max was the secret sauce behind those catchy hooks and melodies that made Jim's records explode. Tracks like Baby Girl turned into street anthems, blasting out of car windows and corner stores all across the city. But as that success started stacking up, whispers started floating through Harlem, people saying Max was the real creative spark behind Jim's new sound, and that kind of talk, it started building tension fast. Max's name was ringing louder and louder, and Jim's spotlight suddenly didn't seem so secure anymore. As Max's fame climbed, his street instincts kicked in even harder, and those instincts would soon drag him into a situation that changed everything. Around that time, he was still dealing with his ex, Gina Conway. She told him about a flashy dude she knew, Alan J. Plowden. This guy was living wild, driving luxury cars, rocking designer fits, and throwing around cash like it never ran out. Word was, he was deep into a mortgage and mail fraud hustle, moving fast and living even faster. And that connection, well, it was about to take Max's story in a dangerous new direction. According to Gina, Max couldn't resist the chance to make a quick move. She claimed he came up with the plan himself. The idea sounded simple: hit Alan Plowden's hotel room, grab the cash, and dip out clean. Gina said Max promised her the world if she helped pull it off, but that night turned into a total disaster from the start. Max didn't even show up in person. He sent Gina and his stepbrother Kelvin Sims Leardam to handle it. The plan was for them to sneak in while Plowden was out partying, but nothing went smooth. They got lost, missed highway exits, and spent hours driving in circles. By the time they finally made it to the Fort Lee Hotel, it was way too late. Plowden was already back in his room, asleep next to another woman. Then everything spiraled out of control. Another man, David Taylor, unexpectedly showed up at the room. He wasn't part of the plan at all. Sims panicked, pulled out a gun, and fired. The shot hit Taylor in the face. In an instant, what was supposed to be a quick robbery turned into a tragic murder case. From that moment, everything collapsed fast.
Hey, they got a sack. Pause. Look me up, I'm gonna get you right.
Police started connecting the dots, and Gina was the first one to get caught. Under pressure, she broke hard. She gave the cops a massive 169-page statement laying out every single detail and naming names. According to reports, she pointed the finger straight at Max, saying he was the one who pushed the plan from the jump. What started as a simple grab and go had now turned into a full-blown nightmare, with everyone involved facing life-changing consequences. Gina told investigators that Max was the mastermind, the one who came up with the whole plan and convinced her to roll with it. She said he promised her the world if she helped. But when everything fell apart, she turned around and gave up everything to save herself. Once the feds had her 169-page statement in hand, they came straight for Max. No hesitation. He was hit with heavy charges, including felony murder, even though he wasn't physically at the scene. The court set his bail sky high at $2 million, and just like that, Harlem's rising wave king went from recording hits to fighting for his freedom. Sitting in that cold cell, time froze for Max, but out in the world, everything kept moving without him. And right in the middle of that movement was Jim Jones, the same man Max once called his brother. While Max was behind bars, Jim dropped We Fly High, better known as Ballin'. That record didn't just hit, it exploded. Overnight, it became a worldwide anthem, the biggest hit of Jim's entire career, officially turning him into a solo superstar. But behind those bars, Max was hearing a whole different story. He claimed he was the real writer behind We Fly High. According to Max, he ghost wrote that record, and not just that one, but a few of Jim's biggest hits. The hooks, the melodies, the ad-libs, Max said it all came from his creative genius. Meanwhile, Jim was out doing interviews, living large, popping bottles, and cashing checks, while Max sat in a cell watching someone else shine off his sound. The pain of seeing his wave ride under another man's name only made that cell feel colder, and that's when the tension between them turned into something way deeper than music. After 10 long months of sitting behind bars, Max finally caught a small break. His bail got dropped to $90,000. For the first time in almost a year, freedom actually felt close. But that freedom came with strings attached, and this is where things got real messy. Word on the Harlem streets was that Jim Jones stepped in to help Max with his bail. But it wasn't out of brotherly love or loyalty. The talk was that Jim made an offer that sounded more like a setup than support. He'd cover Max's bail only if Max signed over his publishing rights and agreed to drop 6 albums under the Bird Gang label. Basically, a trap disguised as a favor. Max was desperate and locked up with no real options left, so he signed the deal. Just like that, Jim gained full control of Max's publishing, while Max got his temporary freedom. But that freedom came at a heavy cost. The man who once called him brother now owned the very music that Max had built from the ground up. When Max B finally walked out of jail in July 2007, he wasn't the same man who went in. Prison had changed him. His smile was still there, but behind it was someone colder, sharper, and filled with quiet rage. He was broke, betrayed, and stuck in a deal that stripped him of everything he'd earned.
How you think he got so hot? Came out with all them tapes. I did that. I put them hooks together. I made it credit. I made the hooks. I made the melodies. Yeah. I made the shit, dog. I'm the man.
But the streets were still talking about him, and the buzz was growing. As Max saw his fame building back up, he made one thing clear in his mind. If Jim wasn't going to give him what he was owed, he wasn't staying silent anymore. He was done playing nice, done being used. Max was ready for war, and when he declared it, he wasn't just after credit or money, he was out to reclaim his wave. Max wasn't just fighting for credit, he was fighting for respect, ownership, and his identity. He broke away from Bird Gang completely and started plotting his next move. If Jim Jones was gonna keep eating off his name, Max was gonna make sure the whole world knew the truth. Nothing was off limits anymore. This was war on all fronts. That's when French Montana stepped into the story. Back then, French wasn't the chart-topping hitmaker we know today. He was a gritty street figure, known for his Cocaine City DVD series, a raw, unfiltered look into Bronx street life. French already had his own issues with Jim. Rumors of a shooting incident had created some bad blood between them. So when Max and French connected, it wasn't just about music, it was about revenge. Together, they formed the crew Coke Wave. But Coke Wave wasn't just a rap group, it became a full-on movement. They were the underdogs of New York, calling out the industry, unafraid to shake things up. Max knew he didn't have major label backing, but what he did have was the streets. So he started feeding the people nonstop, mixtape after mixtape, track after track, giving away songs for free and making sure everyone heard the sound the industry tried to silence. But Max didn't stop with the music. He turned his beef with Jim Jones into pure entertainment. Every track, every interview, every appearance was another chance to throw shots and make noise. He was unfiltered, hilarious, and ruthless with his words, and fans loved every second of it. The first major shot came with his mixtape Public Domain 3. The cover alone said it all. Max standing in a graveyard, posing beside tombstones labeled Millie, Jim Jones, and Vanilli Jewel Santana. It was bold, disrespectful, and
Ram it up his ass. Pause. Ram the boom, I hit his so he can all the my car. Right? My window was there, he tried to grab me. So when he came in the window, I punched him in the face.
Max wasn't just taking aim, he was burying reputations, one track at a time. Max didn't hold back. He called them out straight up as fake, comparing them to the lip-syncing duo Milli Vanilli. Then came the bars that shook Harlem. Max rapped, "I know them dudes need me. I was giving them the loot, but them dudes done blew it." With that line, he made it crystal clear. He was the creative engine behind their whole wave, and without him, they were lost. The record hit the streets hard, literally. Harlem was buzzing and people started taking sides. Jim had the fame, the money, and the industry behind him, but Max had the streets. And when the streets ride with you, that noise spreads fast. But Max wasn't satisfied just calling Jim out. He took things even deeper, going straight for reputations. Then came one of the wildest, most talked about moments in the entire feud. Max dropped the track, "She Touched It in Miami." And this one wasn't just a diss, it was straight up disrespectful. In the song, Max claimed that Jim's longtime girlfriend, Chrissy Lampkin, had been intimate with him. He rapped, "She sucked it in Miami," while Big Avell hit it from the back in her fanny. The line was outrageous, and Max didn't even flinch. He laughed it off in interviews, clowning Jim and calling him emotional, saying he just couldn't handle the truth. It was brutal, messy, and pure Max B energy, loud, fearless, and unfiltered. Jim, on the other hand, was blindsided. Nobody saw that kind of shot coming. When Max started firing off publicly, Jim tried to play it cool, brushing off the claims like they didn't matter. In interviews, he downplayed Max completely. completely, calling him a bitter, washed-up rapper who never took off. He even denied Max had anything to do with We Fly High, insisting he wrote his biggest hit himself. But the streets weren't buying it. Word was spreading, and people had already heard old reference tracks floating around that backed up Max's claims. The fans could feel the tension growing. It wasn't just rap beef anymore. It was a full-blown war for credit, truth, and legacy in Harlem. Max's voice was all over those leaked reference tracks, and fans couldn't ignore it anymore. Slowly, the whole conversation started to shift. People began questioning just how much of Jim Jones's success, even back in his Dipset days, really came from his own talent versus the creatives around him. The streets were whispering, and the internet was echoing those same doubts louder than ever. Meanwhile, Max wasn't letting up, not even a little. He was moving like a man who wanted all the smoke. He started talking publicly, saying the beef wasn't just about music, it was personal. Max even claimed there was a wild incident where Jim Jones tried to ambush him in a parking lot, blocking his car with a Bentley. According to Max, he spotted the setup before it went down, hit the gas, rammed Jim's car out of the way, and still managed to land a few punches before peeling off into the night. The story sounded crazy, but his people, French Montana and others close to him, backed it up. Soon enough, the whole thing became street legend, another wild chapter in their already explosive feud. The Max versus Jim saga had officially gone from a rap rivalry to a full-blown street story that everybody was talking about. Then came November 2008, the night everything got even wilder. Max and French decided they weren't just gonna talk about it anymore, they were gonna show up. They rolled deep into Manhattan with their crew and walked straight into the building where Jim was recording, determined to make a statement. The message was loud and clear. The streets weren't safe for Jim anymore.
They ain't know we was out this early.
What happened that night became one of the most talked about moments in New York rap history. Two Harlem heavyweights colliding, not in the booth, but in real life with pride, loyalty, and respect all on the line. Max later claimed that when Jim realized what was going down that night, he called the cops. Whether that story was true or not, just saying it was enough to stain Jim's rep in the streets. In that world, being labeled as someone who dialed the police during a beef was the worst kind of insult. It could destroy your street credibility overnight. Not long after that, their crews clashed again, this time inside a Brooklyn nightclub. Things got wild fast, chairs flying, bottles smashing, chaos everywhere. Police and K9 units had to rush in just to break it up. It was total mayhem, a scene straight out of a movie. By the time the smoke cleared, Max had done way more than just feud with Jim Jones. He had flipped the whole story on its head. He turned Jim from a Harlem hero into a punchline. Suddenly, people were laughing at Jim, not with him. And Max? He became a cult figure, a street legend who didn't need a label or industry push to validate him. He had the people behind him, and that meant everything. But while Max's music kept flooding the streets, reality came crashing back. The case from that botched robbery years earlier was still hanging over his head. And when the verdict finally came down, it hit like a bomb. Max B was sentenced to 75 years in prison. The entire hip-hop world froze in disbelief. Fans were heartbroken. It felt like the wave had been wiped out before it even had the chance to reach full strength. And while people mourned the loss of what could have been, Jim Jones seemed to be celebrating quietly in the background. From his point of view, it looked like he had just played the ultimate business card. Max was locked up, his voice was silenced, and Jim still owned the publishing rights to his music. To Jim, it must have felt like victory, like the storm had finally passed in his favor. But in May 2010, that all flipped again. A judge ruled that Jim Jones no longer had any control over Max B's career. The court found that Max had officially fulfilled the terms of both his 2005 and 2007 contracts, completely freeing him from Jim's grip. Then came what fans called a miracle. A few years later, Max's massive 75-year sentence got reduced, first down to 20 years, and then later to just 12. The Wave God story wasn't over after all. The tide had started to turn again, and the legend of Max B was far from finished. Slowly but surely, Max B started to see daylight again. After all those years locked away, the man who once created an entire sound from a jail cell finally stepped back into the world, a free man at last. But even with his release, the internet couldn't stay quiet. The second word spread that Max was close to coming home, the rumors started flying again. Snitching allegations. It's like clockwork. Whenever a rapper beats a heavy sentence, people start whispering, And Max's situation was no different. This time, the loudest voice pushing that rumor mill was none other than Wack 100. He claimed he talked to people close to Max who supposedly confirmed the story and even said there was video evidence that could damage Max's name if it ever surfaced. But here's the thing, no one outside of Wack 100 has ever seen this mysterious proof. And even Wack admitted he doesn't personally know Max, never met him, and never did business with him. So to most people, it was clear what was going on. Another loud attempt to chase clout off someone else's shine. Fans wasted no time defending Max. They jumped online calling Wack's story nothing but noise. Clout chasing nonsense, as one fan put it. And honestly, that's exactly what it looked like. Nobody cared about the fake drama. People were just happy to see Max smiling, free, and back in his element again. Now that the Wave God is officially home, the big question floating around hip-hop is simple. Will Max jump back into music? And if he does, will this new generation embrace him the same way the streets once did? The game has changed a lot since he first touched down, but one thing hasn't, the streets never forget their legends. For now, Max seems to be taking it all in, enjoying his freedom, soaking up love from fans, reconnecting with friends, and feeling the energy that's been waiting for him all these years. The wave is back, and it's stronger than ever. If you're hyped to see what Max B does next, make sure to like, subscribe, share, and drop a comment below. Let's keep the conversation going and show love to one of Harlem's most legendary comeback stories.